that make great teachers stay. Okay.
Sorry, go
So
ahead.
retention. Okay, so retention is a theme that every school leader, regardless the size of the school, face again and again. So before we dive into the heart of the topic, I would like to share a little bit about my background, simply to provide context for the perspective I'll be speaking from. So how did I end up in Montessori? So my academic background is not in education, it's in science, particularly chemistry and biology. So for years, I was trained to do research, observation, and analyze patterns. And perhaps that's why when my mother-in-law first introduced me to Montessori method, with its very strong scientific foundation, it immediately felt like coming home. And 16 years ago, my mother-in-law and I started our Montessori school. I'm also a certified HR generalist in Indonesia, and I was fortunate to be part of the very first batch of CGMS Leadership Program. And last year, I was blessed with the opportunity to receive a scholarship from Stanford University under the State Transformation Program. I became the first female school leader from Indonesia to participate in a 12-month journey focused on leadership, business management, marketing, and of course, HR, the heart of today's conversation. I'm also a mother, and I have been a Montessori school leader since 2011. And over the years, I have grown a very small school with just 3 students into one of the largest Montessori schools in Indonesia, achieving both national and also international recognition. But none of this growth came smoothly, never a smooth sailing, never calm for long. Every time we as leaders think that we can breathe, something else happens. In fact, the topic retention has followed me at every stage of that journey. Okay, back to the topic. So when Ms. Catherine asked me to present about teacher retention, I honestly was a bit doubtful, not because I didn't believe in the topic, but because I know that retention is such a common theme. There are hundreds of books, webinar, podcasts, and seminars discussing about retention. But then I realized that common doesn't mean easy and common doesn't mean simple. So today I want to I don't want to simply repeat theories that you may have heard before. I want to make this session more meaningful to you by sharing something more real. I would like to present my learnings about teacher retention based on 16 years of my experience as school leader, through my stupid mistakes, my failures, my fears, and of course, the beautiful growth of the school. So let me start with these questions, and please answer in the chat box with yes or no, especially if you are the school leader. So, or maybe HR. So the first question, have you ever experienced that moment when a teacher you trusted and counted on suddenly submitted their resignation unexpectedly? Can you give, okay, yes. Yeah, the feeling of shock, the sinking feeling in your chest, the instant worry about who will replace them. Okay, next question. Okay, next question, Ms. Nasemi. Okay, no, before. Okay, as a school leader, have you ever hesitated to invest in Montessori training because you fear that the teacher might leave after receiving it? Okay. Others, you want to answer? Okay, next question. Have you ever, next, Miss? Have you ever kept underperforming teachers simply because the timing wasn't right for you to let them go? Okay. Honestly, I've done this many times in the past. There were, like in my case, there were too many events happening. I was in the middle of accreditation, or I just needed a few more months of stability. And you know what? The truth is, most of the time, the timing is never right, isn't it? Okay, so next, so if you felt any of, sorry, Miss, I made before, okay. So if you felt any of the situation, there are signs that you are actually leading a real school with real people and real emotion. And if you ever wonder, is it just me? Am I the only one dealing with this? Please let me reassure you that you are not alone. Every leader I've met, from brand new to experienced leaders, faces the same dilemmas. And today I want to share my very personal journey of growing the school because with every stage of growth and complexity, the way I understood and the way I approach retention deeply shifted. So let's start with the story. So at Green Montessori School, the school that I have led for over 16 years, our retention rate has stayed above 90% for many, many years, something that HR metrics consider very healthy, um, um, very sustainable, very strong. So we currently have more than 55, I think 55 plus permanent staff, ranging from teachers, administrators, marketing, custodian, management, and HR. And we have also been investing heavily in teacher development. Currently, we're sponsoring about 20 teachers for CGMS training, with more to come in the coming years, because we believe that you cannot build a great school without great teachers and also without a skillful teacher. But the part that people rarely see is the fear behind every investment. Every time we sponsor training, we know it's a leap of faith. There is no guarantee that a trained teacher will stay. You simply make the investment with trust and hope that as a leader you can offer, you can give them many reasons to stay. And thankfully, our retention rate has remained strong both before and after launching the scholarship program. And a little flashback about the school. We started as a very small school in a small rented house on a small road. There were no facilities, just a few classrooms with a patch of garden. And this is a picture of our school back then, me and our only four students. And my very first teacher, who is still with us today after 16 years. And as a tiny school, our relationships with one another were extremely personal and very warm. Did I have retention problems since we were very close to each other? The answer, yes, of course. I remember attending a seminar where participants were asked to introduce themselves and their work. And one of my staff felt embarrassed and shy to tell others that we only had four students. And at that time, private schools were not very, like a small private school were not very common in Indonesia. So nobody really considered us as a real school, as a real deal. And this was where my first theory about retention began. At this stage, I believe that pride equals retention. So employees need to feel proud of their work. Pride in the workplace is a retention strategy. So every day we work hard, and I hope more for more students, not only to pay bills, but to build pride within my team. By 2014, we finally had more than 40 students and we outgrew our space. And that was when the board decided to take a bank loan and build our own school, our own building finally. So by 2015, we were finally no longer considered as a small school. We had grown into a medium-sized school with a 10 classroom with various facilities. And this time, the school was also very visible finally because it was located on a main road. On the very first day of our open house in the new building, I remember how excited our teachers were about with the new school, and some of them unintentionally said that finally Green Montessori looked like a real school. At that moment, it felt like as if my teams and my teachers and also my team were no longer embarrassed about the school, and I could feel a new sense of identity, a stronger identity. I was truly proud of what we had achieved. And maybe the question will be like, did I have any retention problems after we could finally offer some pride, in the workplace with a brand new building and various facilities? And the answer is yes, of course. Even though that the school finally looked like a real proper school at that time, but during job interviews and with the new applicants and also the exit interviews with the resigning employees, many did not see us as a stable school with a future. As a result, we were not yet viewed as a long-term career choice. That is when I learned my next lesson. A bigger building does not automatically create stability and increase retention. So after settling into our new building, our next big goal became clear. We needed to build some credibility. We needed to prove that we were a school with a bright future and a place worthy of a long-term career. So after filling the quota for the new classroom in 2018, we began working hard with a single aim to establish strong credibility. So we strengthen the quality of our learning programs. We refine our HR systems, and eventually we earned grade A accreditation. And then we got upgraded into international status because we um, achieve a very high score for the national accreditation. And we received various international and local recognitions, and many of our students won awards from external organizations for their achievement. So did we have any retention problem at this moment after we finally can offer some credibility? And the answer, yes. The moment the school gains recognition, expectations start to skyrocket from parents toward teachers and toward the management. So after you get some recognition, the standard rise, the pressure grows, parents demand more, and workload increase, and everything becomes more visible, more scrutinized, and with less tolerance and less room for mistakes. So now my retention challenge become like this. How do how do we retain teachers and keep them motivated and passionate when the pressure increases and expectation continues to rise and pace keep accelerating? And to make the situation even more delicate and complex, we're also planning to expand and build a second campus with 12 more additional classrooms, which is scheduled to be completed by July 2027. And if you ever manage a second branch, you know that building a second campus is not simply a copy and paste. It brings new cultural dynamics, new mindset, and new layers of complexity, along with the fear of losing your core values during the expansion. So yes, I believe I'll be facing another new retention challenge next year. So the three teachers attention learning that I learned through the growth of the school. First is retention is forever an issue. Retention problems never disappear, they just change form. Since we are all educators at heart, so I like to match this with the idea of the stages of human development. Just like a childhood, infancy, childhood, and adulthood, schools also grow through stages. And each stage comes with its own behavioral patterns and developmental challenges. When we were small and unknown, we believed that pride and money, were the most important factors to make teachers feel proud and remain loyal. Yet, as we grow bigger and improve in the terms of financial stability and also pride, we face new retention challenges. Retention strategies that work when we had 4 students no longer work when we had 100 students. So retention definitely evolves as your school evolves. If I had known this earlier, that retention evolved, I would not have wasted so much emotional energy reacting to every small retention issues. I will have focused more on the next stage and less on the distraction. And also, this is a hard truth about leading a school through different stages. One of the hardest leadership lessons for me. So some teachers were amazing when we were small, flexible, trustworthy, and willing to help with everything. But as the school grew, the skill required also changed. More specialists, more structure, more discipline, more consistency, and faster pace. Some teachers struggled to keep up, and some began to disagree with the new direction. And some felt nostalgic about, for the old days when everything is felt much simpler. And sometimes the resignation does not come from the teacher. Sometimes you, the leader, must make the difficult decision to let go in order to protect the school's next stage. Letting go of teachers you have worked closely for years is painful, especially when they stood by you during the rough days when nobody else was even willing to be part of your
Itu
tiny
ya,
unknown.
kita
So
ambilin
this
pamit.
is of the most emotionally challenging lesson for me. So next. Okay. So turnover is okay. Turnover is natural cycle. So at this stage, after 16 years as a school leader, I have accepted that just like birth and death, entering and leaving a company is a natural cycle. I have seen everything. I have a trusted teacher who suddenly felt guilty of being away from her children and just wanted to be a full-time mother. I have a wonderful teacher leave because she just got married and want to move to another town, build a new life. And then I had a wonderful teacher discover new passions, but not in education. I have teacher resigns because she suddenly did not want to use banks while the schools pay does not pay salaries in cash, so she decided to quit. And the saddest one, I've had a completely healthy teacher pass away from a sudden heart attack in front of the children in the classroom. And this is the heartbreaking one also. I once had a teacher that resigned because the neighboring school offered more money. So each story is heartbreaking, and each resignation used to feel like a personal failure for me as a leader. But over the years, I have learned to see turnover differently. I began to romanticize turnover as a natural and inevitable cycle. No matter how hard I try, 100% retention year after year is never realistic. So when I started to accept that resignation is a natural cycle, I began to see turnover is not always a bad thing. Turnover is actually a natural way to release unmet expectation, misalignment, ineffectiveness, stagnation, and unhealthy dynamics. In fact, having some turnover can be healthy. It allows fresh ideas, new mindsets, new skills, new potential, and new energy to enter your school, to keeping it young and vibrant, which leads to my third lesson. After understanding that turnover is a natural cycle and in fact it may bring good things to your organization, for me, retention is no longer about the number of people who stay, but which people stay. In fact, losing a low-performing or misaligned teachers rarely hurts school. I don't feel sad about it. In fact, I never feel sad about it. But losing a high-trust, mission-aligned teacher that breaks my heart, hurt your school, hurt your culture, and your stability. So when it comes to turnover, what really matters is, are we losing the right teacher or the wrong ones? Are we losing low performers or high trust teachers? Are we losing misaligned teachers or culture, like, or the one that like corrupt your cultures, for example. So retention is not about who stays, but which ones stay. And this is the most important lesson that changed my entire leadership approach to retention. So this is my philosophy on retention. Unlike the old days, I no longer aim merely for high retention numbers. I aim for control, healthy, and non-regrettable turnover. So what remains is a strong, stable, and high-quality team. And like I mentioned earlier, turnover is not always bad. Turnover is a natural and sometimes necessary way to gradually detox your school from negativity to create room for something more positive. Okay, so let's now move to the strategies, the real reasons teachers stay or leave. Okay, so before we begin, I would like to give a disclaimer. I truly hope that my presentation on retention strategies can inspire you, but I also need to emphasize that retention is deeply contextual. A retention model must fit your teachers, your values, and your stage of growth. What works in one school may not work in another school. Even what works for your school today might evolve tomorrow. So please focus on understanding the whole context rather than fixating only on the technical details, so you can thoughtfully adapt these ideas to fit your situation. So when other school leaders approach me and ask the strategies that I use to maintain 90% retention rate year after year, usually I answer with these 4 strategies, as you can see on the screen. So I will start with the first one, choosing the right person. Okay, I know that you already know about this, you maybe already understand about this, but this is in fact is the most important part of any retention strategy, regardless of the size of your school. And my personal motto is no hire is better than bad hire. And I truly live by this. A bad hire costs you more than money. A bad hire costs your time, your team morale, your student experience, your emotional energy, and sometimes even the best teacher might leave because of this bad hire. And in fact, there was a study of HR, HR study that I read years ago that saying that one toxic employee can contaminate the performance of five great employees. This is a very, very real concept in HR. I think that they say it like toxic, they refer it as the toxicity multiplier effect. So negativity spreads faster than positivity, and toxicity is highly contagious. That is why choosing the right person is the first gate of your retention. As a school leader for Montessori, I'm very extremely selective and cautious about who I allow to enter my house, to stay in my house, and to interact daily with my family members. And the first filter that I use is the general fit, I call it. So most schools, I think, use the similar tools, psychological tests, reference checks. These are very important to ensure that the basic safety and psychological readiness for working with children and also adults. But here's the problem that not many people talk about. Psychological tests can detect personality traits, but they cannot detect values alignment. A teacher can be very warm, intelligent, friendly, highly skilled, passionate, yet still not fit your school culture. That's why you need the second filter, which is the institutional fit. And this is a process that I usually do internally in the school. So we conduct several interviews, discussion involving many part of the school, like HR, head of division, sometimes also me, to explore whether a candidate values, mindset, and subconscious patterns align with our school's expectation. I also always remind myself and my HR team and my management team, and they also remind me about this during the interview, to hire based on who the person is today, not who they promise to become or the fantasy of who they might be someday. We are a school. We are schools. We are not in the business of changing personalities of our teachers. We are in the business of nurturing children. So hire the teachers you meet today, not the fantasy created by their words. Teachers can grow and improve over time, but for my very limited experience and also knowledge and skills, the core character traits are difficult to change because they are often rooted in the subconscious patterns and coping habits. So if a teacher is naturally defensive today, she may learn some communication skill and she may get better, but the defensiveness will start to surface under stress. So to avoid future heartbreak, always hire who they are now, not who they promise to be. Once a candidate passes both the general fit and the institutional fit, we move to the next stage, which is onboarding. And in my experience, onboarding is the most underrated retention tool of all. And the two key onboarding practices that I want to highlight here is the first one is the structure and intentional onboarding. This is something that I learned from my mistakes. Strong and structured onboarding program is very important. In fact, the first week often determines whether someone sees your school as a long-term home or merely a temporary job. Based on many HR studies and numerous exit interviews that we did, I've learned that onboarding really impact the retention and engagement and also organizational culture. In fact, many HR studies show that effective onboarding can increase retention by up to 80%. So a good onboarding experience reassures new hire that they made the right decision, and it helps them focus on their work and see a future in your school, and to feel connected and reduce stress and also build confidence. And the second key practice that I want to highlight here is temporary placement before full teaching responsibilities. I never allow new hires to immediately teach or interact independently with students, except in rare emergency cases or when I am personally and professionally very confident in them. In most cases, new teachers begin in a temporary or probationary roles during onboarding. This gives us time to and space to provide training, to observe their character, to evaluate performance and work habits, and to ensure alignment with our standards and also expectation. So we always intentionally maintain at least one temporary teaching position, even when there is no resignation. I know that keeping extra teacher is expensive, but having misaligned teachers in the classroom and losing the trust of parents and children is far more expensive. And another reason to have backup teachers is that no one can predict sudden illness, pregnancy, family's emergency, and so on. So having trained backup teachers with the same standard as your current teachers acts as a systematic buffer, allowing the school to maintain stability and quality during turbulence. And the next one is logical factors. So the logical factor is the very practical side of retention. We need to be realistic about the logical reason. Teachers choose to stay in your school. Teachers love children. Many are dedicated beyond measure, but teachers are also parents, caregivers, adults with bills, and people with financial goals. So logical factors matter greatly. Logical factors are not about spoiling teachers, but they are removing unnecessary stress so the teachers can focus on teaching. As a leader, you must benchmark your financial offerings against other similar schools in your area. Is it necessary? Well, whether you like it or not, your teachers are already comparing salaries. So as a school leaders, you must know where you stand in the market, whether you are, how do you stand compared to other school? Are you competitive? Are you attractive? If you can meet or exceed the benchmark, wonderful. If you cannot due to financial limitation, then you may offer the non-monetary benefits that still create value. I understand that budget is often the biggest constraint. So my suggestion is to offer benefits that are affordable and low cost, at least until you are able to offer more. Some example like career pathways, training opportunities, maybe additional leave, sports club, and so on. And here's the important warning that I want to share, that do not offer benefits you cannot sustain long term. You must really think in terms of a long journey. Why? Because taking away a benefit later, even for valid reason, often feel like a betrayal to teachers. So it may damage trust and ultimately retention. So be strategic, be thoughtful about it. Offer only what you can truly commit to, not what simply sounds good in the moment. Okay, next. Okay, so the third one is psychological support. So what's the difference between logical and psychological one? So if logical factors make teachers stay, the psychological factors make teachers want to stay. So the psychological support is the invisible glue of retention. Here is the good, or maybe also the difficult one, news for school leaders. Psychological safety depends almost entirely on leadership behavior. So leaders play a huge role in this. All people, including teacher, need recognition, opportunities for growth, development, and supportive leader. And let's break this one by one. The first pillar is recognition. I believe that everyone here agrees that teachers deeply appreciate it when their efforts are noticed and valued. Many teachers leave because they don't love, not because they don't love teaching, but because they feel unseen. But they also may leave when the wrong, Miss Amy, next, Miss. Okay, but they may also leave when everyone receives the same recognition regardless of effort. Next, Miss. Okay, or the wrong people are being rewarded. So recognition loses its meaning when it's given unfairly. I made many mistakes here by myself by giving recognition to wrong people simply because I tried to be nice to everyone. I tried to be fair by treating others the same. I wanted to avoid conflict, but equality without fairness becomes injustice. And when the high performing teachers see low performing teachers receiving the same recognition, they feel discouraged and undervalued. And this silently pushes great teachers away. So how do we make recognition fair? in my school, we use KPI or performance indicators to evaluate both performance and also work attitude. And these indicators are tools to communicate what matters, what success look like, what quality means, what behaviors align with the values. And teachers really need to know. I think this is very important because teachers really need to know right from wrong, good from bad, aligned from misaligned. And teachers who do not meet the standards should receive feedback and also clear direction. So when you're done correctly, recognition becomes a form of guidance for everyone. And the second pillar is growth and development. So for me, professional development is not simply benefit, it is a retention strategy. Why? Because when teachers stagnate, they leave. When they have opportunities to grow, they stay. So talking about training, we all know how expensive training is. So we have to be very careful. If we invest in the wrong people, standards may drop instead of increase. Money is wasted, culture suffers, and the teachers might still resign. So growth and development must be tied to performance, attitude, and loyalty to reduce the risk and to ensure that we only invest in the right people. When growth and development is linked to performance, there's also a clear and objective reason for promotion or for not selecting someone. The decision becomes logical, fair, and less emotional. And when teachers see that if I stay and perform well, I can grow, that becomes a very powerful retention driver. Next, okay, leadership support. So one of the most common reasons people resign is their direct boss. So therefore, a leader's everyday behavior, how you interact with the teachers, give feedback, listen, handle conflict, respond to stress or disappointment, and how you show trust can either anchor committed teacher or quietly push them out of the door. And in the school, this is magnified. Why? Because teachers love children deeply. So when they resign, it's rarely because of the children, but because of the adults. So to ensure that your team looks up to you, your leadership style should be supportive and predictable. And in supportive, in this case, for me, I usually show this by genuinely care, by providing guidance and feedback, while also maintaining firm boundaries and clear expectation. I know that it's quite a delicate dance, but you have to balance both. And I also think it's very important to be predictable. At least this is what my team says, what my teams told me about. So told me to be. So I'm a quite a detailed person. I like something simple and efficient. And during discussion, I like to challenge others' opinion and inviting them to challenge mine too. So we can have a better perspective. And I have been like this since day one. And I think this is somehow gives my team a sense of security because they know things that I will question, I will approve, I will reject. They even can anticipate what my possible reaction before the work submission. So when expectation, reaction, and communication are predictable, people feel secure. And secure means home, and home means retention, which is related to my next bullet, make busy seasons predictable. This is very important, especially in school settings. Every school has hectic periods, report cards, assessment, concert, event, accreditation, and parent meetings, and so on. So over the years, I have learned that stress does not always come from workload. It usually comes from unexpected workload. So now I try to plan everything early. I publish the calendar in advance with all the important dates, and I give reminders ahead of time. So when the rhythm is clear, the burden feels lighter, and the teachers are calmer. And next is presence and listen. This is, I think, is one of the most important one. Um, I received a quite high score in this from the survey that conducted by Stanford field um, team. So this is what I practice. Whenever I have a personal conversation with my employee, I try to be really fully present. I put my smartphone away, I turn off my desk phone. I focus completely on the conversation, fully attentive to understand their thoughts, their mindset. And over the time, this allowed me to detect subtle changes in mood, tone, and energy. So there was a time that I sensed that one of my staff had a new boyfriend, even though she kept it private, because her body language had changed. So there were also a moment that I sensed a dimmer energy in a coordinator, which later became an early sign of resignation. This is very important to be present and truly listen, because resignation happened months before the actual letter. So people usually resign emotionally first, then mentally, then physically. So if you pay attention, you can detect it early and address it before it becomes final. So when someone starts to think about checking out, a simple question like, how do you feel today? You look very tired. Do you want to talk about this? Is often enough to re-engage them with the school. And many times these simple questions lead to a deeper conversation, which is a good thing, because you give them an outlet for their negative emotion and also perception. And teachers do not leave because they are tired. They usually don't leave because of they're tired, but they leave because they feel tired, alone, and nobody cares. So if you can address the issue early while they are still small, you can truly improve the retention. And next is the psychological support. So based on my experience, I classify teacher support into 3 groups. Okay, beginner teachers usually need support and clarity. Sometimes, most of the times, they know what to do. They just need you to be there to confirm that their solutions and give them emotional reassurance. So what you can do, you can give them like a casual daily check-ins, practical guidance and confirmation. In many cases, beginners do not lack passion, they just lack confidence. Next is the mid-level teachers need mastery and recognition. For mid-levels, they need to feel that they have grown and progressed beyond the beginner level. In this case, provide opportunities for mastery and recognition. Let them lead small to medium events first, speak in front of parents, take some visible responsibility. They need opportunities to demonstrate progress to themselves and also to prove to others and also to prove to themselves. And for senior teachers, they need you as a school leaders to give them trust, autonomy, and meaningful influence. So since you really need to step back a lot and not micromanage the show and give them freedom and trust. So communicate expectations, standards, and the non-negotiables clearly and early to reduce friction. As again, you need to step back a lot and not micromanage the show. They also crave for meaningful influence. Give them let them mentor the younger leaders or lead the curriculum refinement project or represent your school in the professional communities. This will build pride, ownership, and also loyalty. Okay, and then the last pillar is the building a system. So after trial and error, after analyzing the best practices in your equipment, in your logical structures or your psychological support, turn everything into a clear system that is accessible to everyone, to your employees, subordinate leaders, the entire faculty, the management also. So make sure that your team is well informed, they have a clear job description, consequences, the standard, the transparent KPI, everything, make them is a because clarity will lead to safety. So and then if safety means they will stay. So that's very important to have a very clear expectation for everybody. And another reason why do you have to build this into a system? Because as the school becomes larger, retention shift from taking care of individuals to building systems that take care of individuals. So retention cannot rely on goodwill or personal relationships. It must be supported by system, by culture, and by the environment. And is it the work done? Was the system built? No, it's a continuous effort. You must revisit and fine-tune it regularly, not because it was wrong, but because your school evolved, your culture shift, maybe your generation change. Maybe now we start to having a lot of younger generation before, like millennial parents. Now it's like the Gen Z parents. Expectation rise, and maybe there's some national policies update, and also maybe accreditation requirements, and so on. So you have to revisit this to fine tune it. However, do not change too much because people still crave stability and familiarity. And another reason to build a system because okay, school rarely lose teachers because of one major issue. They leave because of series of small unresolved issues. And a strong system prevents small issues from multiplying. In my school, we conduct an annual employee satisfaction survey to gather first-hand feedback on what works and what does not work. I really recommend you to do the annual survey because you can get a real check-up on the overall mood. Because us, many kind-hearted school leaders, sometimes we make mistake of making a system or rules to satisfy 2 or 3 difficult loud people instead of serving the whole school. So leading with kindness does not mean pleasing everyone. Leading with kindness means making decisions that protect the health of the whole community. And so those are my strategies. So I want to close with this case study, or in this case, a real study of regrettable turnover. So during our requirement, this is the case study for which is based on my personal experience. So during our requirement, there was a teacher who performed exceptionally well in our psychological test. She was emotionally stable, very positive, very intelligent, very quick to learn. She had years of experience in international school environment. She was polite, communicative, disciplined. And the moment I review her CV, I observe her demo teaching, and with the psychologist report, I accepted her immediately. In fact, we even saw some leadership potential in her. So she joined the classroom right away alongside a certified Montessori teacher in the classroom. On paper, everything looked perfect, but the reality was different. Despite her experience and having a Montessori mentor in the classroom, she struggled to adapt to a Montessori environment. The transition overwhelmed her, and after 6 months of stress, she resigned in the middle of the academic year. So it's like not even the end, it's in the middle. So it was a difficult time for the school, for the parents and teacher, and personally painful one for me. I felt like I had failed as a school leader, especially because she was genuinely a wonderful person and a passionate teacher, and I did not expect her recognition. So I tried to step back and I tried to analyze it. So here are the mistakes that I made. First, choosing the right person. So my selection was heavily based on psychological assessment and competence, but I did not evaluate institutional and cultural fit deeply enough. She was a great teacher, but our educational values and expectations were not fully aligned. The way she viewed the role of a teacher was different from how we practice it in Montessori. And we also failed in the onboarding because yes, she had a class mentor, but we placed her immediately into full classroom pressure without properly introducing her to our culture, regulation, expectation, and also rhythm. So we did not give her like enough time to observe before jumping in. So that was a mistake. So my next personal mistake is because back then we were heavily focused on enrollment targets and other operational demands. So we assumed that because she was intelligent, experienced, kind, professional, and passionate in teaching, she would naturally find her way. So we did not we did not do a daily check-in. We did not do like a check-in daily. We did all regularly. We did not listen close enough, and we did not address small struggles when they first appear. Instead, we responded only when the problems had grown too big, when the frustration had already accumulated and it was too late. And the worst part, because it builds quietly, but we didn't do anything early and quickly. So after that, we redesigned our onboarding process, improved regular check-ins, and become more intentional about the institutional alignment. So it was a painful lesson on regrettable turnover. So that's conclude my sharing on retention. Actually, I aim for 40 minutes. I said 48 minutes. So I hope that it has been a useful one and perhaps help you see retention from a new perspective. And I want to close my presentation with this quote: "The ups and downs of a school year are not disruption. They are the rhythm of growth." As school leaders, I know that our work is not easy. We carry responsibilities for our students. We hold the expectation of parents and the hopes of teachers all at the same time. And on top of that, we must build schools that are stable, sustainable, and nurturing places for everyone to grow. Yet along the way, we face unexpected challenges like resignation letter on our desk, a conflict that we did not anticipate, sudden changes in school needs, or emotional moments that keep us awake at night. As you continue your leadership journey, I hope that you remember that great things takes time and continuous learning. So every challenge and every embarrassing mistake we make as leader is an invitation to grow and to improve. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my journey, my insight, and my heart with you. I hope that this presentation reminds you that you are not alone in this journey. And I'm Norma from Great Montessori School in Indonesia. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Norma. It was so rich. I feel like I'm attending not a webinar, but a full lecture on HR. I'm sure many of you are feeling the same way. So I think many of us have learned a lot of things. I certainly have filled up pages and pages of notes here, right here in front of me. And I trust some of you have burning questions to ask. Yeah, so this is an opportunity. We probably have to limit to 3 persons asking questions. So if you have a burning question, please jump right in and unmute yourself. Or if you're feeling shy, you want to type your question in the chat, I will be facilitating that. Any questions?
Okay, hi Norma. Yes, I do. Do you have any restraint, like financially, that you, for example, um, do the fee for the teach for the study, for the additional study, 50-50 share with them and then pay them back the 50%, something like that, to retain them? I mean, keep them another 2 years and then you pay them back.
Hi, Hans.
Do you understand what I
So somehow it's a bit choppy. So did you say that for the training, CGMS training, are you referring to that?
No, I mean, for the cost of the to send the people to a course, that you, for example, pay 50% and the teacher pays 50%, so you can see they engage in it. However, you will pay them back their additional 50% back they paid when they were with you for 2 years or something.
Okay. So
Can you understand what I mean?
yeah, so for the training,
Financially, how to support you? Do you throw out just the money out at them, or do you make them a bit responsible for that sort of thing?
yeah, so for the training, so we 100% sponsor financially.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so I know that is a very real emotion, raw emotion, like because we all know that training expensive is time consuming, but I know there is no guarantee. But like it's like I just settle with try to lead with trust. I know there's no guarantee. Well, there's no guarantee that a trained teacher will stay, but there's also no guarantee that untrained teacher will not harm the quality of your school. So I just try to trust them, and I try to really focus on building the system that make everybody want to stay. I focus more on the how to link the training to the performance. and also to give a clear expectations. And so far, I think it works because like like I mentioned before, like for example, like the biggest one is for CGMS training, like we give like 100% for the teachers. We didn't see any change in the retention rate before and after. So I think it works. And I really understand that it's like a leap of faith, isn't it? Yeah, so
Yeah, okay, yeah. Of course, trust is it's nice, but yeah, you all right. I mean, trust obviously is the most important thing, and
yeah,
also
yeah,
how we evaluate the teacher that he's fitting in, that he's willing, and that he can trust him.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's
Thank
a
you very
great
much.
question, Hans. I think it's very real. There are many of us here who are school owners or leaders making that kind of decision. While trust is certainly one area, the selection process is also very important, I feel. And I believe Norma has gone through a very strict selection process as she identifies who is ready for the training, right? I'm sure everyone wants to jump in and get the training. After all, it is fully sponsored. Yeah. Do you, if I may just jump in and ask this question, Norma, do you actually interview the staff before you finally approve them for to be sponsored for a particular year, or how do you actually go through this selection process?
So usually we select only those who perform well because we have a performance indicator. So only the top one can go. And after that, we also have essays, we have and also interview, and then they also present about what they plan to contribute to the school. So um well, the most important thing is I think if I can summarize is you choose the right person. That's the most important thing because this is not this is investment in people. Like and these people is like professional, like they not like put a like put like capital in your school. So you have to really select the right people. And after that, this is a system. You really have to build a system where you can you try to make it like clear and then it's comfortable for people to stay and work in your school. Yeah, so I think that if I can summarize all those two, I know that is a leap of faith. Even now, like every time I sign the sponsorship form, like I'm like, okay, look, I'm like, like Bismillah is like in Islam, it's like, I hope this is gonna be a good choice. So, it's a big yeah, it's a leap of faith. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we cannot foolproof everything. People change, things happen, life happens. It may not be because the teacher decided overnight that they didn't want to stay. That, there could be other challenges. So I think there's one big thing that I picked up from Norma's sharing was she pays attention to the staff at a very early stage, right? She mentioned about that emotional support, right? The emotional resonation before the physical resonation. So by paying attention early, having that human relationship connection with them, are all cues that, the person is being well supported, being valued. Yeah. So that's something that I picked up from her sharing. There are some questions here. So Clara is asking about the Gen Z teachers who have a different culture. Could you share perhaps some insight to keep them happy?
Um, well, like actually all my Gen Zs, my school are not like those like like the negative description about them. So again, this is back on your how you really choose them, like how whether the person can really fit to your institutional values. So well, like I mentioned, like we have a general fit to make sure that this person is like generally can work with the children, can work with general adults, with parents. And after that, we check whether that person fit our values. So we do a lot of, for example, interview. Like my interview with the applicant can be like 2 or 3 hours. Sometimes we talk about many things. We just make sure that this person see something like similar to how we see it in the school. And also there's an HR interview, and then there's a demo teaching. What else? And then when they come and they get accepted, we never put that person immediately into the classroom. So we always have an onboarding and then a temporary position to just make sure that this person really fit the expectation of the school. So after they pass that, then they can go to the classroom. So I think it's more like usually what happened, because you like I made this mistake before. So I just after the psychological test, I just put that person into the classroom, and then there'll be some friction, and then and different expectation from the parents, from the management, from the colleagues. So you really have to build a system like what fit your school, and you also need to know your values. What is your school values? What are the most important thing that a particular employee needs to have to make sure that that person can fit to the environment. So first is define what are the most important values that a person needs to have to join your school. And my values might be different with your values. So you have to make sure that you really define that very well, so you know what you are looking for. Otherwise, you just simply, oh, this person is nice on the, like during the interview, but then that person works in your school, you find a lot of gap. So make sure that you really know what you're looking for, and during the interview, you try to find that. During the onboarding, you try to find that to make sure that the person really fits your cultural, your institutional culture, and also expectation. Okay, did I answer your questions? I hope.
Okay. We have one last question. I'm going to make this a last question from Daniel. How did you know when to grow your school? How easy or difficult is it to find Montessori trained teachers? Do we have to train most of them?
It's very hard. That's why we train. That's why we sponsor them, because it's really hard to find. And sometimes even when you can find one, it might not fit your school expectation. So we usually just again, like my school, we look for the characters that fit our school, then we train. So we don't really put the Montessori. Well, it's a good thing if they have a Montessori knowledge, but then we try to really make sure that the character fits the school. And then we will, if they perform well, like I mentioned, that growth and development is linked to their performance, and then we can grow them. So just find the characters first. And how easy to grow? Well, it's not easy. It's like a lot of emotional energy there. It's not easy, but
Not
I
easy,
think
sorry. Not easy. I wanted to know how did you know like I'm ready to go to the how like we're like my school, for example, we've had a kind of a set number of applicants, and I don't think we could grow in our location, but if we opened another one, we probably could, but then it's, like training the teachers again and starting the whole thing again. But like it's hard for me to make that jump. I don't know if I'm ready. And I was wondering like what made you think like, oh, I'm gonna go from 4 students to 120 or something like that.
yeah. Um, you know what? From small to medium, I think I just go with it. I don't know. But then for medium to large right now, and then while we're building the second campus, that was really logical base. So we see like how what is the we will becomes like really, scrutinize our financial plan, and also what is the market. So we did a lot of like more logical tasks and research now. But back then, we just try to go with the flow. Yeah. So Yeah, sometimes I also wonder like how did I grow from small to that new I can fill up 10 classes. Now like I have another 12 classes. This time is a more logical, but the first one is just like I think uh you just go with the you just went with the flow, and then basically I think my team is like a bit of achiever and ambitious, so we are try to get improve every year, and somehow it ends up to be like that. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Sorry, Daniel.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose we
Just
don't
do
have
it.
easy answers, do we?
yeah,
Thank you,
yeah,
thank you, thank you. It's just interesting to finally talk to somebody who's kind of in the position with a Montessori school, who's has the same issues. Yeah, because it's hard to train here in Japan too, really hard. And we are doing in English in a country that doesn't really
oh,
have an English base at all. So it's like double. I gotta I
yeah,
gotta
yeah,
find like the people I'm searching for is like a very tiny group of people. So
yeah.
that's our biggest issue, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I used to really look for Montessori credential, but now it's just I think like I kind of like half give up about it. So I just focus on the character, on the people that willing to grow and fit my culture, and then I will grow that person and then train that person.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much, Norma, for your wonderful sharing. I think many of us feel like we have so many takeaways. I certainly want to just quickly have a wrap up here. Just sharing my takeaway. So one thing I want to say is never doubt your small beginnings. So from 4 you grew and now you're still growing into a second campus. Yeah. So that vision that you have along the years, the mistakes that you made were uh, important lessons, and it certainly set that path for your growth, right? The other thing that you mentioned about that visibility, right? So with higher visibility came greater responsibility. You have a whole pool of people now looking to you for leadership, and having all that systems, the time you spend investing in them, believing in them, building that trust, that relationship, is certainly not something that you do overnight. Yeah, it's built over the years. And finally, I like to say, because we are dealing with people, it is hard work, HARD, hard work, but hard work comes from heart work, our heart, right? So it's really sharing who we are, sharing the vision, building the culture together, not just a leadership culture, but a whole school culture. And it takes everyone to jump in and want to support that same vision. Yeah. So thank you so much, Norma. I think many of us have benefited from it. So can we give Norma a big round of applause? You can use your emoji. You can. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope
Yes,
that's
yes.
all useful.
I'm certain it is useful. So I'm not going to excuse Norma. She's just broke fast and she has not had her dinner. So Norma, thank you so much once again. And for those of us who came in later, I'd like you to just quickly sign in the QR code. Let me share. Izan, can you just unshare your slide? Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to share the slide.
Can we take a picture together?
Oh, yes, yes.